you're going to lose fat generally where your body, it decides to burn that fat and you have little to no say over that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Basics podcast. We are here, as always, delivering the realest fitness advice on the planet. But before we get started, Dylan, I wanted to just ask, how's your Olympic fever going?
Man, I have a hard time keeping up with the Olympics. There's too much going on. I will say, this weekend I was at Sand Valley up here in Wisconsin, a golf mecca for all the golf fans out there. It was an incredible experience. I did make the mistake of wearing a visor one day, and I don't know if you can see this in the video, but I have like the most sunburnt head above where that visor line was. It's absolutely killing me. But Saturday night we sat down and watched some handball, and that is one badass sport.
Yeah, well, yeah, handball is great, but doesn't it bother you a little bit to know that if we had our best athletes on it, that it would be a wrap?
That's probably true for like soccer too,
Now,
right?
well, yeah, but do you think so? Actually, I was thinking about this the other day. Do you think that guys like Patrick Mahomes and like Josh Allen would be the killers in handball, or would it be like the LeBron James and the Kevin Durant's?
It would be the LeBron James and the Kevin Durant's. I can tell you that because I believe it was the team from Denmark. They had the LeBron James of handball. This guy was an absolute monster,
Okay.
if a freak. We did some research. Handball is fairly popular as a professional sport.
Hmm.
Like the worst of the players are making 20,000 bucks, but there's handball players that make $2 million a year.
Well, not in America.
No, in
Okay.
Europe.
I mean, like it sounds like a pretty sweet way to make a living. So maybe we need to pivot here and go all in on handball, or maybe has the window closed for us?
I don't think it has. Every time I watch the Olympics, I convince myself that if I would have grown up a little differently, I could have been one hell of an elite athlete in some of these more obscure
Yeah,
sports.
one of the
Like
obscure
if you
sports.
gave me I promise you, if you gave me 1 year to train at badminton and that's all I did was just become a better badminton player, truly believe I could qualify for the Olympics at
That
badminton.
sounds like a YouTube series that might need to happen. I
Maybe
like it.
someday.
All right. So from one hot topic to the next, Dylan, we found another study. This one is all about getting swole after you're retired.
Yeah, I love this study because it's fodder for my cannon. Is that the correct
Well,
phrase?
cannon fodder.
For,
Yeah.
convincing my parents that it is not too late to prioritize strength
Hmm.
training. So it's a cool study that emphasizes how it's really never too late, and that even after retirement age, strength training can have significant and lasting benefits into even further advanced age.
Right. So what they did on this study is they took three groups. There's 451 adults of retirement age, and they split them into three groups. One, they had them do heavy resistance training. They had a group that did moderate intensity training, and then they had a control group that was not exercising. Then they tested them at the 1 year after, 2 years after, and then 4 years after. And after 4 years, what they found was that the heavy resistance training group's strength was still slightly increased from before they had started strength training 4 years ago, Well, the moderate intensity training group and the control groups had both decreased.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
4 years later, and, they're still reaping the benefits of that one-year study and the heavy resistance training that was required. They also maintained, um, lean body mass, not as well as
Hmm.
strength, but again, for the heavy resistance training group, they preserved more lean body mass than the moderate intensity and control groups. So, they were stronger and they maintained better muscle on their bodies, which is so incredibly important as we age.
Yeah, and what's really impressive is that they were able to do this like in their 70s. So that well, in the late 60s, early 70s, the I think it was here. Let's see. The mean age of the group 4 years after was 71. So, I mean, that means that
Yeah.
when they started strength training, they were in their late 60s already. And they were able to build not just build strength and muscle, but they were able to maintain that strength and muscle up to 4 years after training. So, I mean, yeah, this is absolutely huge. I mean, it shows that it really is never too late to get started. And then it also, kind of debunks that use it or lose it myth. And obviously, if these people had stuck with their training programs, they probably would have seen their strength and their lean body mass, even at even higher levels 4 years later. But the fact that they, train for a year and then return back to their regular lifestyle, and still were able to keep some of that muscle, just goes to show that, something is always better than nothing. But if you're going to be doing something, it seems like lifting heavy weights is the move.
Sure does, man. And we know how important strength is for longevity and how important maintaining strength is as you age. Because as soon as you're not able to be strong to function like you're supposed to, health can decline relatively quickly. I mean, you see people, and certainly, this gets into ages perhaps beyond retirement age, but, as you get into your later 70s, 80s, 90s, people fall down, are unable to move on bed rest, and that's sort of the end of life for a lot of
Mhm.
people. So maintaining strength, maintaining the ability to move well, so vitally important. And this just shows how impactful heavy resistance training can be for people as they get older.
Hell yeah. All right. So let's move to the main topic of the day. This week, we wanted to talk to you guys about the major misconceptions that we certainly had when we first started exercising and strength training, but then also just some of the more general misconceptions. And I actually think, this study is a perfect place to start. So, you hear it so often where it's older people should avoid strength training that, once you hit this, and the age always seems to change depending on who you're talking to. But, at some point, um, you know, lifting weights becomes dangerous. And, as this study proves, and as we know, that's just not true.
Yeah, and in fact, the truth is almost the opposite. Like older adults should prioritize strength training.
Hmm.
That study just told us a lot about that, right? It's so important to maintain muscle mass, to maintain and even improve. There's studies that show that you can improve your bone density in this more advanced age as well. And it really just does enhance the overall quality of life. To have grandchildren and be able to chase them around the yard or shoot hoops with them or play catch in the backyard. I mean, that is a huge quality of life improvement, and strength training absolutely lends itself to that. Next one on the list is one that I think impacts women especially, and it's that lifting weights makes you
Yeah.
bulky. I think it's a common worry amongst women who want to sort of sculpt or tone or find this more tone physique. And the concern is that lifting weights is just gonna make them blow up. Like, they're gonna pack on all this muscle, and they're gonna look like a bodybuilder overnight. And in reality, building that bulky physique that you see on social media or you may associate with lifting weights is one of two things: either freak genetics that doesn't exist in 99.9% of average people, or that person, their whole ambition is achieving that build.
Right.
They're eating like you wouldn't believe the number of calories, the supplements, the probably the drugs that they're taking to achieve it. So weightlifting is incredibly important, and for most people, when you get to strength training, you're not going to get bulky. What you're going to get is a leaned, more toned appearance.
Yeah, I mean, and that is it's such an important one, and it is mostly women, but you see it with guys a lot too. You know, guys will come into the gym and they're like, "Man, I'm just really trying to just build, build a little bit of muscle, tone it up, just really looking for that chiseled look." And the fact of the matter is what everybody means is they just want to look better, and you're going to look better being a little bit more muscular. So, like you said, it is an effort that you have to make in order to become a jacked freakazoid. And a lot of times there's a lot of other
And
things that
an
go into it.
insane effort.
Right.
Like, you're if you wanna build some muscle and look lean and toned, try to get bulky.
Yeah, I dare you.
I've been trying to for a decade. It's not working.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. All right. The next one that we have is that cardio is the best way to lose weight. I mean, we did a whole podcast on this one specifically. But it's such a common thing that you hear. And you understand it too, because when people think about getting back into shape, a lot of times it's that cardio that is the low hanging fruit. It's the easiest thing for them to start doing. But it doesn't mean that it's the most effective.
Yeah, can it help you lose weight? For sure. Moving
Mhm.
more is a piece of the puzzle. Weight loss, the biggest lever you have there is gonna have more to do with your diet than the exercise you choose. So if doing cardio is the exercise that you enjoy the most, then you can continue to do it for sure. There are advantages that come with strength training that do not exist within doing
Right.
cardio, and that has to do with building muscle, which will increase your resting metabolic rate and lead to more calories burned throughout the day. So when you're thinking about losing weight, don't think so much about calories burned during the exercise you're doing. Think about how do we turn our bodies into machines that are ready to adapt in a way that's advantageous to losing muscle. And that's why strength training, you know, pound for pound is going to provide a better weight loss benefit than cardio alone. But again, I think the most important point is that it's a puzzle that includes both diet and exercise. And on the exercise side, the exercise you're going to do is going to be the best one for you.
Yeah, and I think you made a really good point where, we need to think about calories burned more as the calories that we burn throughout the day versus the calories that we burn from exercise. The majority of calories that you burn are not from exercise. It is everything else that you're doing throughout the day. It's just existing. And your body, by being more muscular, is going to naturally burn more calories because muscle requires more calories to maintain than fat. And so the more muscular that you are, automatically you are going to just burn more calories to maintain that physique throughout the day. So I think this is one of those things where I feel like the data has, probably like kind of overdone itself a little bit here, where everybody's tracking their workouts on their Fitbits or their Apple Watches or whatever, and they're trying to figure out how many active calories they've burned throughout their workout. And really, that's just such a small section of the calories that they actually burn throughout the day.
Yeah, go find somebody who's really fit and strong in the gym and ask them how many calories they eat every
Yeah.
day. And I bet you it's the strongest, most fit best physique looking people are eating 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 calories a day,
Mhm.
the bigger that they get. So it's just evidence that if you can put on some muscle, and I'm not saying you need to look like them, but that just shows how effective muscle is at burning calories and how maintaining muscle requires quite a few calories. So, it could be a weight loss ambition. It could also just be you want to be a bit more intuitive or flexible with your diet. Well, putting on some muscle is going to give you the opportunity to
For
do that.
sure.
Next one we have here is that more exercise is always better.
Oh, man, this
And this one,
one yeah, this one,
oof,
like, yeah, when I first
I
started getting
lived with
back
this
into
one
it, oh my god.
for decades, man. This was how I thought exercise worked, right? Like the more you're going to do, the better results you're going
Mhm.
to get. And it's just not true,
No.
right? Like the best way to exercise is really to find the minimum effective dose.
Right.
What's the least amount that I can do to achieve results? Because overtraining has all sorts of issues associated with it, from injury to burnout to decreased performance. So what you really want to do is kind of find that Goldilocks zone where you're really working out as little as possible to reap while still reaping the most amount of benefits. And you can kind of play around with the exercise itself to find that zone. You can work with a trainer to help you find that zone, but rest, recovery, critical, especially with regards to strength training for adapting, for actually building that muscle. The muscle itself is not built while you're exercising. It's built after you send that signal to your body that tells it, I need to build muscle. And then that occurs while you're recovering. So more is absolutely not always better. The right dose is the right dose. And that dose is different for different people depending on a number of different
Yeah,
factors.
and I'm gonna to freestyle a little bit here, and I'm gonna bump up what we had as number 9 in our list here, and just and move it in right here, which is that sore is the best indicator for an effective workout because I think these two really go hand in hand really well. That used to be another one that, especially when I was in high school and college for sure. I would judge how good a workout was based on how sore I was the following day or 2 days after. And, the more challenging that stairs were, the better I was because of it.
Hmm.
And, we know now that that's just a stupid way to look at training. I mean, it probably means that one, I've overtrained. It also probably means that I have not taken care of myself after, and I have now effectively, just created a diminishing return. I've overextended, and now I am not. I've already maxed out the amount of gains that I was going to get from that particular lifting session, and now I've gone in like past that to where it could now affect the next time that I'm in the gym. So I might actually, end up hurting myself in the long run because of it.
Yeah, dude. Preach. I think if you're strength training effectively, you should expect to be a little bit sore from
Yeah, of
time to time.
course.
But I think a good way to look at it is if it's ever impacting your daily life the next day or 2 days later, then you've definitely gone too far. Like if you're struggling to walk up the stairs or you're so sore that it's tough to get out of bed or swing a golf club or reach up and grab a glass out of the cupboard, you've definitely done too much. So there's a difference between a little bit of soreness and the type of soreness that I think you're talking about and the type of soreness that I often sought early on in my weightlifting journey as an indicator of an effective workout. The more sore you are has nothing to do with how effective that workout is, and if you're too sore, you've done too much.
Fact.
Now you got me kind of shopping through the list here as well. So the next one gets us to, I guess this one's sort of related to the last, which is I think the misconception is that doing just a little bit of exercise yields no results at
Right.
all. I think that this impacts regular, average people where fitness and exercise aren't in even the top 10 most important things in their life. And so they figure that because they're only going to commit 30 minutes a week or 5 minutes a day to exercise,
Then why even try?
that's not gonna do anything, so why bother doing anything
Exactly.
at all? And that is so incredibly
Right.
incorrect.
More than what you're
Anything
doing.
is better than nothing.
Exactly. The more any more than you're currently doing is going to yield a positive benefit. Now, of course, it's going
Yes.
to take a longer time for that benefit to become, as a parent, but you'll start to notice some of those, those smaller benefits right away. The mental benefits are going to be there. You're going to start to see those things stacking up in your favor, and that's like the best thing that you can do when you're getting started is what is the smallest amount that I can start working out to feel better? And then once that becomes a habit, how can I add a little bit more to it? I mean, it's not rocket science, and it doesn't need to be this huge life altering change at the beginning. It's just little baby steps and just piling up those little rocks along the way to get you into, that position where now you're able to do more and wanting to do more.
Yeah, and habits cascade, like both good habits and bad
Mhm.
habits. So, by starting to do just a little, you're creating a good habit that has the potential to grow and to bleed over into other parts of your life. So maybe it's a 30-minute walk a week that you weren't doing previously. But now the next time you go out to lunch, you're associating yourself with taking positive steps towards your health and you make a healthier decision at lunch. And maybe those walks start to feel really good and you turn it into 3 30-minute walks a week. And over time this stuff can really start to cascade and build and grow. And so while small doses of workouts are effective for a number of reasons, I like it even more because of its ability to start something good that has the ability to get even better.
Yeah, for sure. And and it starts as walks, and then it's a few push-ups before bed, or it's getting a doorway pull-up bar, and like all you start out doing is just hanging from it, and then you do one pull-up a day, and then it turns into two, and it's about just stacking those little victories and just making it as easy on yourself to be successful as you possibly can. The next one.
Dude, 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 let me tell you that with all the walk talk,
All right.
just a personal anecdote. This weekend I learned that you can overtrain from walking.
Okay, say more
We
about that.
walked 30 we walked 36 holes of golf, which I've never done before. Um, and I was sorer than I've ever been from any workout in my life. I have blisters all over my feet. My feet ached so bad. My lower back hurt. My legs were dead. So, to anybody that doesn't think walking is an effective workout, I challenge you to go walk rough terrain for 15 miles and tell me that you can't get a good exercise and even too much exercise from walking
All
alone.
right, I mean,
I
you heard it
wanted
here
to
first,
hit
folks.
on that.
Yeah. All right. The next one that we have here, this one, oh my gosh, I wish that I could go back in time and just shake the younger self of me, because my bank account would be so much stronger now.
We'd be millionaires.
Well, yeah, right, pretty much, yeah,
We'd be
yeah,
multimillionaires.
and that is, the age-old, thought that you need supplements to be strong. We've told this story on the podcast before, but it's worth telling again. When we lived together in Madison, we decided that we were gonna get our shit together, so we went down to the GNC on State Street, and the jacked sales guy was like, "Oh, this is all you guys need," and sold us on a men's multivitamin. And the next thing you know, we were peeing neon green, and we thought that all of our problems were solved. Um, and we we are now wise enough to know that really when we were looking at our neon P, we were looking at our money just going down the drain, because
Just a different
yeah,
green.
yeah, exactly. And this isn't to say that all supplements are worthless. Supplements certainly have value, but we need to go back to the name. They are supplemental. And this should be something that people who know that they're deficient in something are taking a specific thing because of that deficiency. Instead, what happens now, it's a multi-million billion-dollar industry. The supplement or market is, and it's loosely regulated, so it's basically the wild west out there, and there's a bunch of really great marketers and snake oil salesmen. So you got to be super careful, and I think the best way to be careful is to only take supplements that you actually need.
Yeah, man. We did 2 episodes on supplements, and they're worth listening to. One where we talked about the things that can actually have some benefit, and one where we hit on a lot of the ones that are commonly marketed that are likely total bullshit. And even the ones that are likely to have some benefit, those are still small rocks. Small, small rocks. Get the big rocks in order first. And if your goal is to get strong, supplements are going to have such a minor impact versus hitting your protein, eating healthy carbs and fats, doing effective workouts. So, we talk a lot about creatine, for example. Creatine, super well researched, lots of benefits, but really probably the best thing about it is it's super inexpensive, right? Like creatine monohydrate, inexpensive. So the cost benefit is there. So that one makes a ton of sense. Like it's not going to cost you a ton. It's probably going to have some benefit.
But even if you
Throw it
couldn't
into your
afford, like,
regimen and you
let's
might
just
get
say
some
you
incremental
yeah,
benefit.
let's just say you can't afford creatine though, that's not going to make that's not gonna be the biggest difference maker in your
Incremental
training.
benefit. Exactly.
Right,
Yes.
it's just one
Right.
of those things
Not
where
even close.
right, so, even the ones that we recommend people take, if it doesn't work for you, there are way bigger rocks for you to move.
You are not missing out on
No,
much.
no, no,
Yes.
but, like exactly, and the nice thing about creatine is it's super easy to source it. You don't have to do a ton of research on it. But again, like that's still supplemental and it's possible to get enough creatine from your diet. And there are other big things that you should focus on instead.
The next one we have here is a funny one, and I certainly bought into this for a while, and it's that spot reduction works.
Hmm.
So, like, this idea that you can reduce fat in specific areas by targeting them with specific exercises will reduce fat in that specific area is just absolutely not true. Like, you cannot crunch your way to lose belly fat into having abs. That's an absolute myth.
Yeah. Or
Fat loss is a whole go ahead.
well, I was gonna say you see it a lot with women too, where they maybe they have a little bit of of that underarm, like sagging in their underarm. And
Yeah.
so they think, oh, if I all I got to do is just tricep extensions all day long, and then that's going to go away. Now, making an area more muscular is going to affect the way that the area looks. So, it's not as if to say that we shouldn't be focusing on those areas, but if you're trying to lose fat in an area, it doesn't matter how many reps of an exercise you do in that muscle group. It's not going to change it one bit. Well, I mean, you're going to lose fat generally, and you're going to lose fat where your body, it decides to burn that fat, and you have little to no say over that.
Yeah, little to none. Fat loss is a whole body systemic process. Um, Everybody has that spot on their body where like that final bit of fat just won't go away. And it's really just genetic. Like everybody's got that spot. Everybody's got that spot where the fat falls off first, Everybody's got that stubborn spot, whether it's the underarms, the belly, whatever it might be, and ultimately to get that, if it's that last bit of fat loss you're looking for, you ultimately just have to get that lean. And honestly, man, sometimes it's just not that healthy anyways,
Right.
and it's really just not that worth it. And you're probably being far too critical of yourself.
Yeah.
Like 99.9% of people, when they sit down, they're gonna have a little bit of a belly fold, and that's healthy and that's okay. So stop being so critical of yourself. And if fat loss is your goal, you can't spot reduce. You have to just sort of systemically lose fat overall on your body. And you're right, Matt. Like you can certainly tone up the muscles in those areas, which will help with the appearance in general. But you're not going to crunch your way into losing that last little bit of belly fat that you see in the
Yeah,
mirror.
for sure. This next one, you know, I think it's another one that the older exercise community has, gotten their hands on this one, and that is that machines are safer than free weights. And if go to, I know, like my local YMCA, it's just absolutely loaded with, different exercise machines, and then there's only one set of 25-pound dumbbells in the whole gym. And you know while I do think, and I love working with machines, but a poorly set up machine can be just as dangerous for a person than free weights can. And I think the most important thing to remember with both of them is that you need to treat the machine, and you need to treat the free weights with the respect that they deserve, and understand that you need to be focused, and you need to make sure that you have proper form regardless of what exercise apparatus that you're doing. I think too often people just assume that if you get on a machine and you just do what the little diagram on the top says, that you're going to be just fine. But the fact of the matter is that sometimes machines can be even more complicated because there are multiple setups. You have to make sure that it's good for your height, and it's good for your body, and the positioning is exactly where it needs to be, because that fixed plane is only going to move one way. Whereas with the free weights, you have some variability based on, the way your body wants to move, and based on the, maybe the movement habits that you've developed. So there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to free weights, and I think that a lot of people are a bit too casual with their machine use.
Yeah, and if you exclusively or only use machines, they actually become quite dangerous because of what you just noted. They are in that fixed plane. So you're going to build muscle. They're great for hypertrophy.
Mhm.
If you want to isolate your chest and build your chest, or your arms or whatever it is, they're great for that. But they're not functional. They're in a fixed plane. They're not giving your body the ability to mimic the way that it's supposed to move, it wants to move, mimicking real life movements. And so you can kind of get stuck building muscle in this relatively unnatural way if you're not, kind of working your way through the advantages that machines provide, but also leveraging those free weights and those other ways of training to be more functional as well.
Yeah, I mean, both have their purposes, and honestly, you should use both. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
an effective training program and your seasons of training are going to have you go through, phases with machines and phases with free weights. So, I don't particularly care for any, school that says one is far superior than the other.
The next one we have here is the more you sweat, the more you
Oh,
burn.
yes. As a
Um,
as a s a sweater, I wish that this were true.
yeah, I mean, some of this has to do with calories, and we've already talked about how burning calories in a given workout isn't really a good indicator of successful workout, anyways. So maybe it should be the more you sweat, the more effective the workout. In any event, sweat has nothing to do with how effective your workout was. Sweating is your body's way of regulating temperature. You and I, Matt, I don't sweat that much. You and I could go do the same workout, get the same benefit out of it, and you're gonna have to change your clothes, and I could go back to
Yeah.
work. So, um, so it feels good to
Right.
sweat, and I can see why people associate it with like an effective workout. But I mean, it's probably why hot yoga exists. But if you go do yoga in a regular studio or in a hot yoga studio, you're gonna sweat differently, and it has nothing to do with how effective that yoga session was. So sweat, not a great indicator of how effective a workout is.
No, sweat just means
And
that
it can be tough for people to get over too,
for
right? This is
sure.
one where, like, I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, "I did that strength training workout, but, like, I didn't break a sweat at all. So what am I even doing?" Well, that's common for me. Like,
Right.
I'll strength train frequently and not break too much of a sweat. So, um, yeah, it's really doesn't have much to do with it at all.
Yeah, for sure. The next one that we wanted to talk about was that stretching before exercise prevents injury. And, this is not to say that you should just show up to the gym and immediately hop into your workout. But if you're the guy that, stands off into the corner and, is touching their toes for 10 minutes before they start to move, I mean, one, you're just wasting time, but two, you're actually decreasing your ability to be strong and perform well in the gym.
Yeah, static stretching tells your muscles to wind down. So, like, I play rec kickball on Thursday nights, and I'll see some of these guys on my team stand off and do the classic quad stretch hold for like 30 seconds, and I'm like, dude, you're telling your quads it's time to rest and recover.
Right.
It should really be more of a dynamic sort of a warm up, shorter holds, more explosive type movements, priming those muscles to go do activity. Stretching, the traditional long static stretching, fantastic post workout because again, it's then telling your muscles to wind down and recover after you've given them stress. But I think, we grow up playing sports. I remember playing sports growing up, and our coach would get us in a circle 15 minutes before the game and have us, hold in these stretches for 30 seconds and just sticks with us. And it's actually not very effective at all. And it can, to your point, can lead to decreased performance, decreased strength, and even injury in some cases.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the best way to think about stretching is before your workout, you want to do more like you said, it's that priming. So you are doing skill specific moves. You're not holding anything, for too long. Uh, but after a workout is actually a killer time to do some of those more static, long holding stretches.
The next one we have here is that if you stop working out, your muscle turns to fat or all your muscle and gains will go away. And with regards to the muscle to fat thing, muscle and fat are two totally different tissues in the body. You can't, one, your muscle's not going to turn to fat. Two, you can't turn your fat into muscle. So these things cannot turn into
Right.
one or the other.
Yeah, they're two
If you
different they're
stop
2 different
working out,
things.
yes, no, that's just not how this works. If you stop working out and you maintain the same diet, you can lose a little bit of muscle and the fat can certainly increase, but that doesn't mean that that the muscle itself has turned into fat.
No, it just means you burn
And
less calories.
on the exactly, that's exactly how it works. And if you stop working out for a short period of time, you're not going to lose all your gains either. It takes a ton to earn the muscle and to build it. To maintain it requires much, much less. And even if you were to take an extended break, there is muscle memory. That's a real thing that exists. And your ability to put it back on um, becomes much easier.
Yeah.
So don't beat yourself up for a week off or for, falling off. your consistency for some period of time because life happens.
Yeah. The best thing that you can do is just get started again and see that, and when this is where, it's helpful to have a quality strength training program and actually be tracking your workouts so that you can see this is where I was before I left the gym and this is where I am now that I'm back. And if you see a decrease that first day, well, that's fine. It's just getting that muscle memory back. That strength is going to come back super, super quick. So yeah, I mean, if you take a break, that's fine. Get back in the gym. You're going to be just fine. The next one is you have to go to the gym to get a good workout. You and I both know that this is just BS. I mean, you can get just as good of a workout at home, in a hotel room, in a park. Doesn't matter where you are. You don't even need any equipment. I mean, you can get a great workout in with just body weight. But even if you just have some simple tools like resistance bands, you can absolutely build muscle. You can absolutely burn fat. A gym is certainly helpful, but it is by no means required.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to build the most amount of muscle possible as efficiently, effectively, and quickly as possible, then you should get a good gym strength training program and you should prioritize it and go to the gym. But if you're just a regular person looking to build a little muscle and be more healthy, there's a million ways you can do that. And to say it once, I'll say it a million times. The best exercise in the world is a walk. And that absolutely does not require a gym. So yeah, I mean, there's so much you can do. And there's these co-benefits that come with getting out of the gym too, right? Like being outside in the sun, taking a bath in nature. All of these things are really good for you as well. And there's some opportunities to double dip
Hmm.
there if you get outside of the gym as
For
well.
sure.
The next one we have on the list is that crunches are the best way to get
Oh
abs.
yes.
You see this all the time. And really, I would almost take this as far as to say that like direct core work is the best way to get abs.
Mm,
I think there's some misconception around that as well.
right.
Um, Core exercises that engage multiple muscle groups and are more compound, I think are actually incredibly effective for developing a strong core and visible abs. In my opinion, the best core exercise that I've ever done is a heavy deadlift. The core activation required to do a heavy deadlift well is massive, and you don't need to end a good strength training workout with these compound movements with 20 minutes of crunches to achieve abs. Now, there's certainly some direct core work that can be incredibly effective, especially if you can load it
Right.
and or progressively overload it somehow. You absolutely can and should progressively overload your ab muscles just like all of your other muscles to build the abs as effectively as possible. But you can absolutely get a six pack just from doing good compound strength
Yeah.
training.
And I mean, I think that anything that you have to do 50 of is not the it's not the most efficient way to do anything. And so, it's just like any other muscle group. If we're looking for the most efficient way to train them, we're looking for compound exercises. But then as far as like the direct core work goes, finding ways to load it, and if you're gonna, if you just like, say you're just somebody that likes to do crunches, that's fine. But let's find ways that we can progress it. So using decline bench is a great way to add a little bit more resistance to it. Using something like a captain's chair or a hanging leg raise. There are all these different ways, or even just holding a medicine ball or a kettlebell, some sort of weight while you're doing your crunches. Just something that to treat it a little bit more like you do all your other body parts. We don't train our chest by just doing push-ups, so why would we train our core by just doing sit-ups?
Yeah, we know that muscle is built in that 4 to 20 rep range.
Right.
So to your point, why would we treat our abs any differently? At that 50 rep range, you're just kind of doing cardio.
Mhm.
So yeah, if it's a core workout, an ab workout that you can do 50 times, to your point, Matt, figure out how to load it to get that into that 4 to 20 rep range to really build those abs as effectively as possible.
For sure. Uh, the very last thing that we have on this list, one of my absolute favorites, and it's the anabolic window. You must consume a protein shake within 30 to 60 minutes of your workout, or you might as well have not worked out. Um, we know that the anabolic window, it doesn't really matter for the majority of people. If you are if Sebum is listening to this, if any, if anybody training for, Mr. Olympia is listening to this, then obviously, you guys, your anabolic window matters. Uh, but for all of us, for the guys that, you know, that are gonna have extra pepperoni on their pizza as their protein, you know, when you eat it throughout the course of the day does not really matter when it comes to your strength gains. It might have an effect on digestion and how your body handles it, but you know, I I just think it's always so funny. You see all the guys with their shaker cups, immediately after their workout, just absolutely, you know, chugging their protein drink. And that it's all fine and good to have ritual, and it's all, if you enjoy that, and it makes you feel good, then by all means, go for it. But if you're somebody that's just not big on protein shakes to begin with, we know that whole foods is going to be the most effective way to get nutrients into your body. So, stress less about when you're eating and when you're getting your protein, and just more about hitting your target for the day.
Yeah, it's the daily total protein intake that matters. You could even probably say it's the weekly, the average daily,
Oh, for
another way to
sure.
look at it.
Yeah,
So don't beat yourself up if it doesn't matter. And even if you have a bad day, you can make up for it later in the week. So yeah, these are again very, very, very small rocks. And I even fight myself on this one still. I know this isn't true, and I still feel like I have to get my protein shake in after a workout. Some of it's just habit stacking, right? Like
for sure.
I am a protein shake guy because it's hard for me to get the amount of protein that I want from whole natural foods. So it's just easy to be the bro at the gym that takes his protein shake there and fills it up from the cold bubbler and drinks it on the way home. But yeah, your workout was just as effective if you have a high protein dinner 4 hours later as if you have that protein shake 30 minutes after.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody. That is the main discussion for the day. If we missed anything, or if there was anything else that you wish that we had talked about, let us know. Reach out at either the Better Basics podcast on Instagram or the Basic Trainer on Instagram, and let us know. Hey, here is something that you missed. We love to hear it. Now we are going to move on to the Q&A portion of the day, and this comes from an in-person client of mine who is a loyal podcast listener. So shout out to Chris. Chris was listening to our 25th episode, 25 Habits, and he thought that we missed something. So, in this, his question kind of stems from that. He says, "I started mouth taping earlier this year and have noticed an improvement in the quality of my sleep. Do you guys /use mouth taping?"
Yeah, cool question. Certainly could have been included in that list. Um, I like it. I don't use it, and I don't use it because I'm just a really good sleeper.
Yeah, you don't
Sorry to
need it.
brag, but like I just don't need it. Yeah, I sleep with my mouth closed and breathe through my nose. The only time I really breathe through my mouth when I'm sleeping as if I've got some congestion, and if I were taping my mouth when I couldn't breathe through my nose, I'd have bigger problems. So I don't typically use it. That doesn't mean I don't like it. I know there's great benefit to it. If you are a person that is a mouth breather, breathes through your mouth at night, it can be a really effective way to encourage your body to breathe through your nose, which we know has really impactful benefits for general health with regards to nitric oxide production, but also with regards to the quality of your sleep. And I think, Matt, you are a mouth taper
I have to
or
be.
have been a mouth
No,
taper.
I have to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've been on enough trips together. We lived together long enough. You know, I am a huge snorer, and this has been one of the absolute game changers for me. And so it's one of those things that, yeah, I love it. I've been using it fairly regularly for a number of years now, and I have noticed an improvement. And the biggest thing that I notice is waking up and my mouth isn't as dry. We lose a lot of water in our sleep if we are breathing through our mouth. Our noses do a huge job of filtering out the air and the humidity in the air and keeping us hydrated through the night. And so, waking up already dehydrated, if that is something that you've just been living with day after day for ever, it's probably having a bigger impact on not just your sleep, but your day to day more than you can even imagine. So, if you are somebody that, struggles with snoring or mouth breathing when you're sleeping, obviously you got to consult your doctor first. Make sure that that this is something that is safe for you to do. But for all the people that are freaked out by it, we're talking about a little strip of athletic tape here. We're not talking about wrapping duct tape, around our
Not a horror movie.
no, if
Yeah.
very often I'll wake up and, if I did have a stuffy nose and needed to breathe through my mouth, I don't even think about it. I just open up my mouth and my mouth is stronger than that tiny little piece of tape that I've put over it. So, I don't think that those fears for the majority of people are justified. But again, not medical advice and certainly not doctors. So make sure that you speak to yours before you try anything like mouth taping before bed. Okay.
I love camping with you because um you snore so fucking
Yeah,
loud that we're almost guaranteed not to have a bear in
that's
our
true.
camp.
We have it.
You're a sleeping can of bear spray.
That's a fact. All right, let's transition to the I Lift a sad song of the week. I've been struggling with this one. I've had a few that I've been kicking around. And so let me just take a look. Let me take one more look at my list here. I've got a few that I'm just kind of toying between here. And yeah, all right, I'm gonna do it. So this song is I actually had to look up the lyrics to it to figure out if it was a sad song, and I
Hmm.
it sounds like a sad song, but as, Bon Iver tends to do, all his songs sound
Ooh.
sad, and so it's really tough to tell what he's actually saying. This is, one of my favorites. It's Towers, an absolutely awesome song to get a lift to. Actually, there's a couple options on that album that might make it onto the list later, but if it's been a while since you've listened to Bon Iver, or if you just need to feel a little something, pop on Towers and do some bicep curls and thank me later.
Yeah, dude. Interesting thing about Justin Vernon, lead man for Bon Iver. On the lyric side of things, he actually writes less to do with the meaning of the word and more about how the word sounds and the combinations of word sounds.
Yeah, you can tell.
It's a bit over my head,
Yeah,
but he even, like, makes up words,
sure.
and so, sometimes he certainly has some great songs that have some deeper meaning, but some of them are just gibberish,
Yeah.
and so they're more sad in tone, and, I think, his pretty much his whole songbook, I think, qualifies as sad.
Okay, cool. Well,
So,
I'm
we'll
glad you
we'll
approve. I didn't run
count
that
it.
one by you beforehand, but there it is. All right, everybody, we appreciate you as always. Please, please, please give us a shout out, give us a follow, send this to a friend, send this to your mom, send this to your dad. Let them know that we are here for them, and we'll see you next time.